All right, gather around, guys. It's time for a video and story time. So, spent the day cleaning the spare carburetors I had, and I got over here. I put on. This is actually OEM. This carburetor, if you see, there's stamping here. The only thing is, right? The other carburetor was on here was a Chinese aftermarket, and I know that for sure because it does not have stamp marks. Where is that stupid thing? Oh, boy. Shit all over the place. Excuse me. I have stuff all over the place. Here it is. Okay. This one's this Chinese garbage aftermarket carburetor, although I can't say if it ran decent or not with that carburetor, this carburetor, because I had other issues going on, mainly with the exhaust pipe on this one was broken because it's a poor design where they put it. Where's that broken one? Right here. And I even noticed it when I found another one. It's right up against it's right up against the frame. That's why it broke in the first place. So this pipe that's on here now, I think this might still be hot. Yeah, that sucker's still hot. Okay, so let me just show as an example. This one would have been bolted up here, and it came to here, right about here. And that's where the hole was, where this one was bolted in, right? Well, I don't have one like that. This one comes out and goes right to here. So I'm either gonna have to modify this pipe. I might have to trim it. Yeah, I might have to trim it. And then, get an elbow from pipes I have. And, clamp it together real good. And have it come down to one of these mufflers, or put a small like this, like that, just the round one, kind of like that, on it for it to work. So I still have to modify the exhaust pipe for the muffler to work. So when the thing, he was running it without that muffler on there, it caused problems, okay? Because I know when I was running it briefly without that muffler on there and that pipe broken all the way up almost by the exhaust port, it was shooting out flames, okay? So when you have that problem, when you have that going on, and that's common. They don't run right without mufflers. They have to have a muffler. Even if it's a long, straight pipe, it has to have at least a pipe. It can't be coming directly out of the port. It won't run right, and it shoots flames out. Because it was shooting flames out, heat has gotten up close to the head of the engine. A lot of heat. So, anyway, it's running great right now. It's running even better than that one. This one's running perfect now. Okay, only problem that I'm having after a couple of minutes, especially when I put the deck on, it starts puffing white smoke, and I noticed oil starting to leak from right here. Now it's running too good for me to think that it's got blow by, which would be a bad piston, rings, and or bore, a worn bore. I don't think so. It's either a blown head gasket or the valves are out of whack. Or it could be a bad, a worn bore, piston, and rings that aren't sealing, which heat would cause all these kind of problems. But it probably blew out the head gasket. Because I also see a bunch of residue all up over around the head here, which tells me that head gasket probably blew. Okay, more than likely. Yeah. I'm gonna have to dig in a little bit deeper to find out. Okay? So that's that. Alright. Now the other thing was one thing I don't like about, so it's a good engine. When they're running right, they're good engines. So that's good. Otherwise, I was going to, this. One thing I don't like about these Tecumsehs is the way these linkages come on and off these carburetors. Okay, there's this stupid plastic nipple clip that you got to pop out of there, and then the linkage, and then the choke, and it's a real pain to get it out of there. Unlike with the Briggs, where they just pop out right, and nice and easy, no fight about it. Those things are a pain in the ass, okay, to pop out of there. Yeah, these ones, they pop right out, okay? The plastic piece stays in there, and they pop right out, no problem. On these Tecumseh, the linkages are real stiff. The throttle one, it's a real pain to get out of there, okay? And then I ended up breaking the stupid choke one and getting that one off. Cheap plastic. Now, I had the piece laying around the other day when it broke off. I don't know what happened to it, okay? If I was a little bit more mindful, because I always forget I have the capability of plastic welding this stuff, I would have fixed it. I would have plastic welded the piece back on, and then this would have been good. Fixed. I would have put this one back on. That's an OEM Tecumseh. This is an aftermarket Chinese. Okay. So, hopefully I do find the piece and I can plastic weld it back together, and then it'll be fine for the future. This one over here, which I was going to use, and still might, if that red one doesn't run perfect, because it runs decent now, it doesn't surge, but when you go to put the deck on, you got to put it on real slow, or it wants to conk out. You should be able to put that deck on, no problem, without it, being shocked and wanting to conk out. This came off of a 10 horsepower Tecumseh L-head, but the 10 horsepower was the same displacement as these engines, 358 cubic inch. No difference. No difference in the size of the intake. No difference in the size of the, this area where the choke is. It's just built different and a little better. There's one of those plastic things I was talking about. That one stayed in there where it's supposed to. But anyway, they're a pain. But anyway, you see, this is metal. You see how it won't break the way that plastic will. This carburetor will work on those engines. It's for the same displacement. Only difference is you gotta use bolts. You gotta use these bolts right here. It has to be bolted directly to the manifold, and then either or, whichever ones they were, and then this one bolts the plastic housing for the air filter to the front of it. It's not adjustable. Even older ones had adjustments here, idle, here, main, but this is still a far better carburetor than those plastic ones. So if I have to, I have this one to use. Okay, so on these newer ones, it's like the modern Walbros too on the Briggs. It's got a long through bolt that goes through, so it holds the housing, right? Then this whole thing goes through, bolts in. Then you put the plastic housing on, then you put the nuts on and do it like that. The other one's got separate bolts, like one there, and then one there, one there. Back one would probably be a pain to get to. Okay, whatever. Not a big deal. Okay. So that's the deal with that. So I have to modify that pipe to, I got to do something, get an exhaust on there, a muffler on there. Whether I got to modify that pipe to make one work, or, just put one of them round ones on the end of it. Just cut it back some and have it so it clears the hood. And then it should be good. But then, again, I think the one belt's worn. These are those variables. Top one's worn, which is the shorter one. It's pretty easy to get to. I think I have a spare one, so I'll probably throw that on. Although it seems to be driving pretty good right now. But the main thing is the blowing of the white smoke out of nowhere and the oil that I'm seeing. That's got to be dealt with. Like I said, not sure yet. Seeing that oil, maybe it's a valve not opening and closing all the way. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Blow by. So that would mean that the guy destroyed the engine because he didn't order a new muffler, basically. He had it welded, repaired once, and it broke back off. The problem is, it's the way, it doesn't clear here. It doesn't clear right here. This is cool now. So this area, I'm probably going to have to take this pipe back off and grind a little bit of this frame away so this pipe can clear better, so this doesn't end up getting broken off, because this front axle right here, you get some shifting, because I felt it when I was putting it on. I felt the shifting. I thought the engine was loose, but it's not the engine loose. It's just there's shifting here. So that's got to be dealt with. That's a very poor, it was poorly thought out. Like, if they were going to do that, MTD should have at least made room for this pipe. This one over here doesn't have that issue because they got this stupid one where it goes on the front. It comes right alongside of it, so it's not I don't think it's not touching. Yeah, it's not, there's room. You know what I mean? That's probably what they did. This one, I don't know why I don't know. They must have figured it out. They're like, yeah, we can't do that. Or they should have just modified the plate, and then they could have used the regular muffler. Or somebody else put this on later because the other one had already broken off. That's the only other thing I could think of. But it looks like a stock one, and it's got a brace, which you also want. Because, most of them come with a brace. This one's not even braced. Okay, it just bolts there and then goes right to the muffler. There's no brace, okay? Like on these, this is for a modern brakes. See, there's a brace, bolts at the front of the engine. Even mine has it. There's a brace. So it gives it a little bit more support. It's not on, doesn't have it. So the engine's okay. It was just the design of it. It's the way they use the engine with that frame like that. If they were going to use these Tecumseh engines, then they should have known they got to make a little bit more room in the frame so the pipe don't break off. So that's what caused that problem. Okay? So right now, this one's actually, when it runs, it's quiet. It's quiet because it's using that type of muffler. It runs smooth. It mows, it drives, it doesn't hesitate. It's just like it's some smoke after a while. I don't know if it's just from, oil that had built up, like I said, or I got a blown head gasket, so the oil would get passed. Basically, the only way oil normally would be getting passed is if I had blow-by, a bad piston rings where it was not scraping the oil back down. It was leaving the oil in the head. Okay, and then it ends up coming out here and causing it to blow white smoke. But it's running too good. It seems like it's running way too good to me to be that issue. So, blown head gasket, that normally would cause white smoke, or a valve that's not properly sealed. It's overhead valves. You just got to pop the cover. It's a lot easier to adjust these valves. Head gasket, I think, is a little bit of a pain in the ass on these. I remember I saw Kyle out of Creek do one. They weren't nice and simple like the Briggs ones. But if it was a flathead, you wouldn't even have to worry about it. So let me start it up. Yeah, it's only 6:15. Feels like it's 9 o'clock, but it's not. All right. Okay. Oh. I charged the battery. It's here. I just got to put it in. I have like, I don't know, 3 tractors at the moment, almost ready to go, and 2 batteries. So, yeah, I didn't commit to putting it back, so I got to do this. If I don't lose it. Hold on. All right. Choke's on. Good. It's nice and runs perfect. It's quiet. It runs perfect. Idles down great.